Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, joining you on this very lovely day, no matter where you may be, is myself and Mr. Brian E. Roach, who is playing around with, you can't make out really what it says there.
It says this. You can read it. It says,
I love
you, Grandpa.
I love you, Grandpa.
Not for me, because I'm nobody's grandpa. This is my dad. My dad had this sitting on his bureau from my daughter, which we gave to him when he was, she was 2 or 3 for Christmas one year. And when he passed away, I found it and I decided to hit play. And it says that. It says, love you, Grandpa.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cute. So
it is pretty cute. I mean, your daughter's in college now, so that was pretty high tech when you got that made. Because, I mean, for people who can't see the photo, I mean, she must be like 2 years old in that
2
thing?
or 3.
Yeah.
Little.
Yeah. So, well, man, hey, it's good to have you back. Reminding everyone that this episode of the Steel City Underground podcast is brought to you by MANSCAPED, precision-made tools for your family jewels. And they've always got announcements, so we got more to talk about.
Where's the
here
thing?
Not yet. I don't
I'm
know.
sad.
Not yet.
Okay.
We'll get to that. We have other things and stuff in store for today's show, but hey, man, how's it going, man? I mean, it's right now. I'm asking that because are you paying attention to guys running around in shorts in Indianapolis?
Yeah. This is the first year in maybe 15 years and maybe 6 years that we've been doing this, that I have paid absolutely no attention to the combine thus far. And to be honest, it has nothing to do with my desire to pay attention to the combine. It has to do with that I don't have the spare time to pay attention to the combine. And I could start to rap and be cool now, but I'm old and I can't do that.
Yeah, well, all of those things. But you're not a grandpa yet. I'm glad
I am not. I will never be a grandpa. That has been expressed very clearly to me by my daughter. You will never be a grandpa.
Oh, that's maybe
I'm not upset about this at all.
Adoption, little rugrats running around. I'll send one your way if you want.
No, you wouldn't. You would never do that. I know, so it's okay.
Yeah, you're right. You've got me. Well, we're gonna jump into it. Maybe a shorter show. Thanks everyone for your comments and everything from the previous show. In fact, I wanted to bring up one of those. I'm gonna have to go back and look and see which one it is, but we'll do that near.
I'm gonna say hi to the Twitter guy who thought I had gone away for a long time. So hi, Twitter guy who remembered me. But remembered me like, oh, that guy, he's been gone for years. I haven't been. I just am not here as often.
Yeah. I mean, but you're in demand. You're beloved. That's what people are always asking. Where's Brian? And then it's like, well, do you watch the show as much as you say you watch the show? Because Brian was just here. But I digress. We've got more free agency, legal tamperings right around the corner here, about another week. I think a week from Monday. I think it starts on, what's the official date? The 13th, maybe, and free agency kicks off on the 15th, something of that nature. I got to look it up and get you the official news. But it's really close. It's really close. And actually, the real tampering has already begun in Indianapolis as everyone is there. Charlie Weiss had a segment on his SiriusXM NFL show during the week that said, how many cups of coffee can a guy drink in a day? Everybody's getting coffee together. So without further ado, with Steelers, these are currently contracted players, a little different than what we discussed before, which was who might they re-sign, what are needs, what are some other free agents. These are guys that have been in, or areas that have been perhaps on the chopping block. And the first of those, of course, comes up the maybe highest dollar amount of any potential Steelers release or cut or cap casualty They traded for William Jackson III before the trade deadline last year, and he never played. He might have practiced just a tiny wee bit.
Twice.
Yeah.
Maybe practiced twice.
Yeah. And you know what? That dude's got a big contract.
Yes, he does. So you know what's going to happen?
Yeah, I think he's going to Brian's got the blade out.
But I'm not going to cut. This is not a threat to William Jackson III. This is just my symbol is cut. He's being cut. I'm not threatening anyone with this knife.
That's absolute. I'm glad you went there.
Props. I want props.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, he's like what, 31 years of age? He's up there. He's not a young guy anymore. Maybe a veteran guy that could have helped the Steelers last year. Yeah, 31. He's listed right now. And taking a look at his contract, we're over at on overthecap.com. They pay us nothing, no pittance to promote them, but they have the most accurate information that's available on the web. So why not use what's the most accurate? So I, with borrowing this information, I have no problem telling you where to find it. And all of you can find out that William Jackson III, Steelers keeping a 31-year-old corner around for $12.1 million smackaroos this season. I don't see that happening.
Go back to that other thing.
Which
go back to that. Go back to what you were just on.
To his contract?
Yeah, look at the highlighted area. You need to bring that up. The valuation. This is like I'm sorry, you drove William Jackson III off the lot and he immediately depreciated 900%. The valuation of his valuation is $257,000. Are you kidding me? Let's just pay him $12 million. Sure.
Yeah.
No, go back to this. Cut. He's being cut.
Well, he can't be just that. $257,000. I'm sure the veteran minimum for a 31-year-old player that, how many contracts has he had, by the way? 3. The Steelers took on, did they really have like an extra 3 years on this contract? I can't, because there's void years that were built into this, but those don't come from the Steelers. The Steelers aren't paying him. That's all the prorated bonus, which some folks have to learn how to read some of these things. The cap savings is what the cap savings is. And usually when you see these type of contracts, the cap savings is the amount of money that a specific team would be on the hook for, in a case of a trade. So I bring it back up here on the screen. A dead money would be, previously, that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers were definitely on the, or not the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the Washington Commanders would have been on the hook for. But now that this has been updated, the Steelers have no dead money whatsoever if they were to cut ties with William Jackson III. So it seems
the cut is so big here that this is not enough. That's not enough. It's cut. He must be cut.
I should bring my lightsaber out for this. I do not have a katana blade or a samurai sword sitting around, my friend. I've had some in the past. And why might people be, how did the Steelers fluctuate to being, hold on a second, I got to bring this back up. This was actually something important that I meant to start out with. That currently $58,582 is the estimation that they are over the cap. They're in the red, but they're not even in the red like 6 digits, which is pretty damn good this time of the year for,
yes, it is,
just about them. I know there are teams that have got like a hell of a lot more money in total. Let's see here. I think it might be under the cap calculator. It's under a team. I could probably find it, and they have it all listed by which teams have which amount of money available. But right now, I'm drawing a blank on where to find this on the site. But all we need to be concerned with is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers do have some dead money. They still paying Stephon Tuitt. Yeah, Cam Sutton had a void year in his contract. And then there's Chase Claypool, Buddy Johnson, Anthony McFarland. Those are all peanuts in the grand scheme of things. Stephon Tuitt's a $4.7 million because he had a pretty massive contract, and that had been restructured, several times over. And that's something that's also important to note. You can't just go around restructuring everyone as you will. And this is going to bring me to the stupid Cleveland Browns for a second. because I was discussing this online, and there's people that just do not understand how this works. And it's like, well, they're just going to cut John Johnson, 28-year-old safety. Yep. This isn't even a good cut, Brian. This is pretty severe and pretty stupid. People want to talk about Andrew Berry and being a good GM. This is bad business all the way around. We bring up his contract. He's still under contract with the Cleveland Browns through this 2023 season with 3 void years to come in 24, 25, and 26. And if you could see this here, his dead money hits are 12.6, 8.8, 5.1, and 1.3. And if I do the quick math there, it's about $21 million, $26, $27 million in dead money over the next 4 years. They only save, I'll pull it back up one more time for those unions that are watching this, $900,000. That's all they save is $900,000. What a ridiculous contract. I don't know why you would cut them, because you've got to pay somebody some type of money to replace this player. They probably have players maybe in-house that are in mind, but this isn't the type of move that gets you under the cap. And currently, the Cleveland Browns, if we were to take a look at where they sit, they're $11.6 million over the cap, and they want to restructure Deshaun Watson, which is fun. We bring up Deshaun Watson here, and his cap number each year effectively is about $55 million. I guess they want to make that 65 or 75 or 80 million a year. There would be no cap savings. They're dead money 2023 right now if they were to cut Deshaun Watson. We'll just call it 220 million smackaroos. The big ones. Doesn't that make your brain hurt? I mean, this is just... Please.
Baltimore, give Lamar a better contract than that, fully guaranteed. Please do it.
Yeah, but I had some folks that were talking about, because the news had leaked that the Browns were going to maybe release Johnson, and this is going to save them $13 million next. No, it doesn't. It saves them $900,000, not even a full million. That's good. That doesn't get them very far in the bean counting category. So this is where the Steelers kind of lie. They're up against the cap. There was a fallacy out there that the Steelers had a lot of money to spend, and we may have even perpetrated that at one point ourselves, but that was pre-Minkah Fitzpatrick extension, pre-Diontae Johnson extension, and there's things they could do, such as parting ways with William Jackson III, who can save them, what was the number once again? $12 million. And it would immediately... even with that 500, so they'd be about $11.5 million under the cap, the opposite direction of the Cleveland Browns. Perfect segue, almost aligns, the planets align perfectly there to part ways with William Jackson III, and I think that will happen. There's always a chance they could rip up his contract or whatever, but there is no way, shape, or form that I think William Jackson is getting any kind of slice of $12 million from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, he might get this kind of slice.
Yeah.
But, that's in a completely torn up contract, released, restructured. But considering, the injury history and whatnot, he's not going to be in high demand. It won't surprise me if they try and bring him back on something that works more team friendly. But he may still think he's going to be the guy and want to go get a big payday. And I just don't think anybody's going to pay him.
Much like Joe Hayden last offseason.
Yeah, exactly.
And Joe Hayden was changing his pictures on social media like the cool kids do. It's like, Joe, you're an adult now. You're not one of the cool kids. Sorry, man. So
what? I'm not a cool kid?
What? Brian, when you have kids, Brian, being a cool kid, it's not possible. The door of it is slammed shut on that opportunity. Sorry to break it to you, buddy.
It hurts me so much. I really wanted to be a cool kid, Joe.
Hey, that's a deep, you know what? Got something here. Of course. There's the deep cut. I got the scissors. That's a deep cut for you right there.
Your scissors.
Yeah. Well, anyway, moving along here. I'm not saying that necessarily every one of these players is going to feel the axe necessarily, but we got to discuss that people have been bringing up
one of them too,
Myles Jack's. What's that?
But I got one of them somewhere too.
What's that? A jack?
An axe.
An axe? I didn't say it. Did I say axe? Then he was going to get the axe. Could get the axe.
Yes.
Yeah. Just to, bring this up just real quick too. The Pittsburgh Steelers' highest paid players. This is where this comes from because people just like to go down the list and then see who has a big contract. Oh, TJ Watt. Oh, they will restructure him without knowing that this turns you into like the Rams, or you're going to get a Brown situation, or the New Orleans Saints, who are always in cap hell. TJ Watt, obviously, you got the highest cap number, which is listed by Cameron Hayward is next. Mika Fitzpatrick, Diontae Johnson, all these newer contracts. Chukwuma Okorafor, then WJ3, that would be William Jackson we were just talking about. And then Myles Jack shows up on this, and his cap number is $11.2 million. But the Steelers can save $8 million if they were to part ways. It was a 2-year deal. Steelers were still dealing with some ramifications, not only of to it, but Ben Roethlisberger over the last year. So that's why a lot of this money is paid forward. With Kenny Pickett under a rookie deal, they are going to save. They don't have that giant looming. By the way, Daniel Jones might be the next $40 million guy. Ninth 40+ million quarterback. That's just sick to think about. Steelers don't have to worry about that for a few more seasons, particularly. They wouldn't have to worry about it at all if Kenny goes on a slide and isn't the guy. But if he is, then that's eventually in their future. But they got a window now where there might be some money that they could play funny business, playing it forward, and they're going to be able to do some things. But for right now, they're going to need money to be able to do anything in free agency right now. If they're going to pay anybody this year, they got to get under the cap just a little bit. Myles Jack, though, is this a guy that you let go? I mean, Devin Bush is probably not being re-signed. Robert Spillane could be, but do you want Robert Spillane as your full-time guy? And then Myles Jack, that's all three of the guys who played the most at inside linebacker. So to save $8 million, we're back at the Joe Schobert argument last year of, can you find somebody at that cost or cheaper to replace Myles Jack? Myles Jack was the answer for the Schobert situation. I don't know if there's one for Jack. Personally, I wouldn't mind Jack just staying. I wouldn't even mind maybe if Omar Khan goes rip and does an extension and floats this money around wherever so they could get a little bit of relief.
Yeah, I'm fine in almost any either or way, right? I agree with you. I don't think Devin Bush is coming back. I don't think that's a shock or surprise to anybody at this point. And yeah, you cannot basically start over with Robert Spillane. Spillay's done a great job, but you just can't start over with just Robert Spillane. And then you're going to draft to fill those positions. I know there are linebackers on the market, but they're all going to cost you more than what Myles Jack is costing you. I think the best solution is, if they can do an extension, do a restructure, and manage the money a little differently, that keeps the player happy and keeps them happy, fine. But yeah, if none of that works out, then I think you end up taking that hit for the next year and you just go on from there.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I was just contemplating. I had another name. I found the one that was in the comments, and I'll bring it up later. But I'm not looking to send Myles Jack packing necessarily. No. I think he's a vital piece, even if he's not a 3-down backer. You got to have at least one of these guys still there. More than likely, there'll be a veteran and potentially a rookie that comes in to fill those spots, much in the same way that they had, Mark Barron and Devin Bush alongside Vince Williams. That's the way I picture this. Is saving $8 million, cutting Myles Jack that necessary? It'd have to be a very significant upgrade somewhere else on the field, and I don't see that necessarily. So I think Myles Jack, I think his job is safe. I think we've mentioned this next guy before, and more than once, and I don't think we think that Gunnar Olszewski is safe by any means. He would be the very definition of not safe and warm, hot, pants on fire type seat situation. Brian's coming with. Yeah, I could see Gunnar Olszewski being cut. I'm trying to find his contract. It's not near the top of the list by any means here.
No, it's a smaller savings, but it's still savings.
Yeah, it's still savings. This contradicts what we said with Jack, but we're talking about a guy that's, wide receiver 5 and lost his job as a punt kick returner. And if you take a look at Olszewski's numbers, Olszewski saves you $2 million. And that could be enough to make some of the rookie deals or put away for a rainy day if there are some injuries, because they will have to consider having a little bit in the piggy bank there in order to do that. So they're only on the hook for like $617,000 of dead money. So sorry, Gunner. I wish I was prepared more. I only have it's the small cut. The scissors are good for the small cut. I don't have the industrial or the gardening scissors. The closer you bring that to the screen, looks like almost like Jaws, like something lifelike. Then you find out it's like, oh, hey, mate, you call that a knife? No, this is a knife.
Yeah.
The old Paul Hogan, Crocodile
was like
Dundee.
the worst Crocodile Dundee impersonation ever.
But I don't have, I'm still dealing with a froggy throat here.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get me somewhere between Steve Irwin and Paul Hogan. I won't be able to do it quite properly. And Peter down under that listens to us is just going to, he'll face palm. So I'm not even going to attempt it right now. It'll be more like the Dumb and Dumber, like, good day, mate. Throw another shrimp on the bobby. Because she was Austrian.
Peter, I apologize for him right now.
I apologize for me too, but I think Gunnar Olszewski, he's on his way out. Olszewski is something I don't need an Australian accent to be able to say. No. So one that really hasn't been very speculative, but perhaps should be on our list of people to talk about, Ahkello Witherspoon. And why might that be? Well, we just heard from Omar Khan. He just had a lot of interesting things to say. Alex Highsmith, Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton is in negotiations. Apparently those are going well. So if Cam Sutton comes back and we have ourselves a look-see at Witherspoon's contract, which again, Witherspoon isn't making a monster fortune here, but it's a little bit of chump change that you can maybe do something with in terms of free agents or free agency, much in the same way that he was signed. He's got an okay veteran deal here. They'll owe him about $1.5 million. He's paid, it was a two-year, $8 million contract. Nothing that was really guaranteed. There was some bonus money that was tied into this, but the cap savings is $4 million. So if you have Levi Wallace and you have Cam Sutton under contract, and if there's smoke and fire and whatever, and the Steelers either think this might not be a now thing. I have to see. It's a pre-June 1st. NFL draft rolls around, and you've got what's his name? Not just Joey Porter Jr., but what, Christian Gonzalez,
Devin Witherspoon.
Yeah, another Witherspoon.
I like the kid from Maryland as well. I think there's even another one that's getting a lot of hype, but I can't remember who it is.
Yeah, if these guys are kind of in that future, Witherspoon might not be a now, because an Alex Highsmith isn't a now decision. Cam Sutton is scheduled to be a free agent now. We're talking, in 2 weeks' time, not even. Alex Highsmith still has one more year on the rookie deal.
Yep.
So the Steelers they could be exercised. Khan could exercise some patience and get this deal done at a different time here with Highsmith. So Witherspoon could be a guy that ends up expendable for other reasons. They end up getting their draft board plays the way that they wanted it to, and now they have enough bodies. I think James Pierre will still probably be like the corner 4 or 5 and a special teamer. I know, but you know what? He's got some experience at least, and I mean that's valuable.
You know what he has experience in doing? That. Oh, let me catch up to you.
In all fairness, they didn't pay him 4 years, $32 million, like a former guy, Cortez Allen.
Well, that was.
There's a blast from the past.
I mean, Cortez Allen looked like he was going to turn into something and just lost his confidence and was done.
Yeah, completely. Burnt toast. And I know you don't like toast, but you would like burnt toast even less, my friend. But,
yes, I definitely would like it
so
less.
So we'll put Witherspoon out there on kind of the
I want to emphasize something, though.
Okay.
Burnt toast is exactly what toast is.
No, no, it's toasted bread, and you can burn it.
Burned.
And you can burn it. You can burn the toast.
Burned.
My grandmother, God bless her soul, I think the only way she knew, she didn't have like the timers. She had the timer going, but she was either hard of hearing or just ignored it. So the only way she knew anything was done was to just kind of cook it. Well done. Well done, everything.
Oh, there's smoke coming out of the toaster.
Burn
it must
vegetables?
be done.
You can burn vegetables? I guess you can. Grandma taught us. She showed us the way. So moving on next. This is one that I have to bring up just because idiots do. This isn't one that I think that there's any movement on, and that's Diontae Johnson. And the Yinzers, some of the Yinzers still haven't realized that Diontae signed a new contract last year. He's got a lot of dead money, just like a lot of other people do on the books, which means he ain't going nowhere. It's the old Macho Man, Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Bonesaw's ready. You ain't going nowhere. And yeah, Diontae Johnson ain't going nowhere. He's currently got the 4th highest cap hit of any Pittsburgh Steelers player under contract for 2023. And to take a look at that, they would only save about $4.6 million and eat 11.6. Next year would be a little more plausible if they wanted to. It's a little more palatable anyway. 5.8 would be the dead money versus 10 million in savings.
But Joe, what if they trade him? But Joe, what if they trade him, Joe?
What are they trading him for? You better get something good.
Second round pick, for a first round pick, Joe.
No.
He's a first round pick. They'll get a first round pick for him, Joe.
It wasn't a first round pick, a third round pick, and nobody's going to give up more than a 3 for him.
I bet you if they can get a 2. I bet you they get some teams. What's our one guy like to sell us?
First round pick for everything.
I've been a Pittsburgh Steelers fan for a million years. I would like Omar Khan to trade Diontae Johnson for 17 first round picks, please.
We do read the messages, my friend. We will save your name from. He left a voicemail the other day, so he called the hotline, and that was great because he didn't like my take on Alex Highsmith, which we're going to do that. That's probably going to be one of the shows next week where we talk about some of the future deals and priorities. So I won't get into that rant just yet, but there is something to say. TJ Watt draws double teams, other guys will run free. So when TJ Watt isn't there and you want to say Alex Highsmith disappears, well, Cam Hayward did too, as did everyone else. Malik Reed. There's a lot of talk too, Brian. We mentioned this myself in Flash, but Dupree's got like one of these John Johnson type contracts where the Titans are going to owe him a ton of money for the next 3-4 years. It's just a even worse deal right now. And there's all this smoke and fire about, well, would the Steelers bring back Bud Dupree? And it's like, did everyone forget about Alex Highsmith? I feel like this is like 2 or 3 off seasons in a row where there's just a total amount of disrespect being shown for Highsmith. Yeah, he disappeared because Watt wasn't there. Everybody else did. Now you double team and take Highsmith or Hayward out of the picture. And Malik Reed can do anything? Bud? Ryan Anderson? Bud's like 28, I want to say.
All right, so let's say he's 29, just for grins.
I'm going to find it.
Bud did not go to the Titans.
30. He just turned 30 in February last month.
I thought he was a little older. That's why I went up to 29. Bud didn't go to the Titans and blow the doors off, right? He made his money. He got his big contract. If Bud comes back, it's got to be one of those understanding deals of you're a rotational player now, right? You're not competing with Alex Highsmith. You're not competing with TJ Watt. You're a rotational guy. You're a depth guy. I'm all for bringing Bud Dupree back under those scenarios. But if Bud still thinks he's the man and is a starter capable guy, he's going to test and see where he can find a market. If there is no market and nobody else agrees with him, it wouldn't be the first time an ex-Steeler came back and wanted to finish things up here and just was like, yeah, whatever you want me to do, I'm in.
Yeah, and he had his last, grand hurrah, is plethora of success with the Steelers. But is he, you look at Jadeveon Clowney bounce around the league, making $10 million a year, and that's I'm not going to say
Clowney. There's a lot more
just because he was a first round pick.
There's a lot more hype with Jadeveon Clowney.
That's all it is.
I know. I'm just saying it's there, and. Look,
production-wise, Dupree has been as good.
100%. You're not getting an
clown.
argument.
Yeah.
But GMs are just as dumb as everybody else. All right. And they buy hype just the same as everybody else. And they go back and they look at Jadeveon Clowney's tape, or they look at his combine stuff and they go, whoa, holy crap, look at that guy. We need to have that guy. We can make him better than he was. $6 million man, whatever. They're all idiots.
Yeah, you're not going to catch any major argument from me. And before we move on, it's all precipitated from Diontae Johnson, who Johnson's not going anywhere.
Look,
but there's
if they can trade Diontae Johnson and they get value for it, I'm for it. If you're trying to cut him, forget it. I'm not for that.
Yeah, but you know what? If you're going to trade the guy, like, again, what are you getting for him? I mentioned the contract. They're still going to have to eat $11.6 million. What kind of pick is worth 11.6?
A second round pick. If you could get a second round pick 11? For Diontae Johnson, I would take a second round pick for Diontae Johnson.
I don't know, but then you got to also pay the second round pick. So what did George Pickens make last season? I could probably find this just as quickly. George Pickens, he's got a cap hit of 1.5 this year, so 1.2. Yeah, and you know what? I was just mentioning too that Chase Claypool, or maybe I didn't. Maybe it was just something I put up over on the SCU social media. I did. That Claypool made the announcement last year of George Pickens. That reminds me of Martavis Bryant. With
he ain't mine's replacement. He's y'all's replacement.
Yeah, Sammy Coates and getting into that spat. None of these guys lasted very long. That's kind of funny. But speaking of not lasting long, Brian, this is a good segue.
Wait, before you do that, I'm not chasing Diontae Johnson out of town. Let me just say that. I'm not chasing Diontae Johnson out of town. I have my issues with Diontae, and I do think he gives up on plays when he shouldn't, and I don't think he always gives 100% effort. But I like him. I would like him to stay. I'm not chasing him out of town. But on the flip side of that, you get the right deal, everybody's expendable.
That's true. Maybe for a little less money there, but then you got to get another wide receiver. That becomes a little scarier, and that's another topic we'll bring up for a rainy day. Is the Steelers wide receiver room, because then you'd only have George Pickens, Calvin Austin, who's never played much of anything, and of course have to bring back Steve Sims. But segueing into things that are replaceable, the Steel City Underground podcast is brought to you by MANSCAPED. Yes, we've got it here.
GIF.
Yes, the GIF is there, and we got to bring up that MANSCAPED's got the it says cue dramatic sounds. I do not have the sound effects. Yes, this is a public service announcement. MANSCAPED now has beard products and is going even further with their brand new Weed Whacker 2.0. Yes. So no longer have to do that with that knife. That's a knife, mate. I'll get in there a little better. I got to work on it. I'm telling you, that throat's it's killing me. But if you were displeased for any reason with the first iteration of the Weed Whacker, the 2.0 is coming out. Go ahead. We're going to go ahead and we're going to tell the world that the Weed Whacker 2.0 is now available. And the leaders in below the waist grooming are traveling north of your South Pole with their revolutionary grooming products. The new Weed Whacker 2.0 and their new beard line confirms they have all the best tools for your hygiene toolbox.
North of your South Pole.
North. Well,
nice.
North. No, different poles. There's a pole here and then, well, maybe. I don't know. I haven't been known to be called tripod as a nickname, but the new Weed Whacker 2.0 and their new beard line confirms you have all the best tools for your hygiene toolbox. I just said that, but time for you to upgrade your game by going to manscaped.com and using the promo code SteelCity20 for 20% off plus free shipping. I think you'll absolutely love the brand new Weed Whacker 2.0, which offers improved blades and skin-safe technology with a no-tugging guarantee. It's never been so painless to mine your man holes.
Wait, did you just say that there's no tugging your pole?
What did I say? There is.
Oh no, it's a no tugging guarantee in your nose hairs.
Yes. With your man holes.
Man holes.
Yes, it's a no tugging guarantee.
How many holes do you have, Joe?
Have you seen the new Ant-Man movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
How many holes do you have?
What did he say? 7?
He said 7. It's incorrect. That's not the number.
Because you do have ducts in your eyes and stuff like that.
Well,
too.
you count these as holes. These are holes. Eyes are holes. That's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I can count 2 more holes.
Oh,
I mean, one's very small.
Oh man, it's not to be a biology lesson. You're just supposed to try Manscaped and their performance package 4.0 for the full body grooming experience. And just to let you know, the Weed Whacker 2.0, yeah, the performance with the Weed Whacker 2.0 now comes in. Oh,
I'm sorry.
That was the dramatic music we needed earlier. But
I'm sorry.
But this guy here, the Weed Whacker 2.0, that now comes with the Performance Package 4.0. So anytime you get the new Performance Package, it's going to come packed with the new Weed Whacker. And this little gizmo is available individually too. Steel City 20 is the promo code, 20% off and free shipping if you're interested in upgrading your nose hair game. So we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about this guy as soon as we have one of these in our hands. I could already tell. I don't have it yet. But it looks like this one's going to be going the same way with the rechargeable stuff and all the good gizmos. They even have a light on it. We'll see. We'll find out. But it definitely, it has the light to tell you that it's charged or charging. So
I don't know how you can look up your nose with a light with a nose hair trimmer.
Well, I don't know. You need whatever it may be. But they have improved it. Not to say that the last one wasn't any good, but I'm looking forward to the new product. So anyhow, moving along with our topic of the day, what other Steelers might be on the chopping block. They might be getting cut here, free agency wise and whatnot. And there's a lot of talk about offensive line. And that's just another stupid topic, in my opinion, because isn't the whole point of free agency to go out and upgrade players? And that's what they went and did last year. I know they brought Chooks back, but they signed Mason Cole and they brought James Daniels in. None of those guys are going anywhere. No. Like that's just ridiculous. I won't even get into their contracts. It's not worth having a conversation about them unless you're looking to maybe float some more money into the future.
The only one that there's some potential is Chooks, and that's it.
Why do you feel that way?
It's just and it's not now, right? This is another one of those. After, if you get a plug and play right guard or right tackle in the draft, Chooks is potentially a guy that could get cut, but he could also hang around for depth, right? You could also have him as a safety gap, safety valve. I don't think any of them are for sure guaranteed to go, but Chooks and our boy Dotson, and to a certain extent Dan Moore, all are not 100% guaranteed to be fully safe.
Well,
Mason Cole
and
James Daniels are safe. I don't think, and again, it's not about cutting necessarily in the sense of for the contract value. It's cutting in the sense of they just lost their job because somebody took it. You never know. I agree with you. I agree with the sentiment. I'm just saying I don't think there's 100% guarantee that all of them return.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at this once again. The contracts do tell quite a bit of the story, though. Like, it's a little hard to ignore dollars and cents values. Chooks only saved you maybe 6.9, because I have to say it like that, $1 million. But then you're eating 6.1. And he's the 5th highest cap hit right now at 13. You don't save the whole 13. Once again, just trying to learn some things. And James Daniels is in the top 10 as well. He only saves you 5.3, but costs you 5.8 in dead money.
James Daniels is not going.
No, he's a dude. And then you go to Mason Cole as well, 3.8 savings, but you're dead for 3. Starting center at 6.9, that's fine. They're in that top list. You have to go quite some distance. What's Dotson in the last year of his rookie deal? He could save you 2.7, and he only cost you $164,000. Yeah, nice seeing you, dude. I mean, if we thought Gunner was gonna, now I understand having guys with playing experience. That's worth something, and at least as maybe even a backup 2.7 isn't incredibly terrible. And to go down a little bit further down the list, Dan Moore, he costs you absolutely nothing right now. As Dan Moore is in what, year 3, entering year 3. Yeah. So 765,000 in cap savings, but only about 350 dead. I don't see it, Brian. I think that's just kind of preposterous.
There's no guarantee any of them goes, right? I said Chooks is iffy because the money is basically split. $6 million is a nice number to get back in cap space, but eating $6 million is also not palatable to teams like the Steelers. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but yeah, there's no tremendous amount of money to be saved in offensive line changes right now.
Nope, I am totally picking up what you're putting down there, and we got some more names to bring along, but the Steelers, I do believe they prefer to, even if it's an undrafted guy that could win one of those jobs, somebody's got to be the left guard. They had 5 of them the year before in 2021, and it just did not work out. Kendrick Green's in Dan Moore territory, by the way.
No, Kendrick, and even though he's not saving him any money, there's a good chance Kendrick Green's not on this team next year.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm going to bring that up somewhere along the line here. Let's see, where is Kendrick Green at on this list? He's probably
he's up a little. There 876.
There he is. There's our line item in the bookkeeping. He's in the Dan Moore area. Same thing. You're in for 453,000, save 876. But that's a roster spot thing. The accounting for that doesn't really matter. They'll eat that in a heartbeat. And he didn't get a helmet.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you find a replacement, you found a replacement. It's not, he did nothing to convince me he would make year 3 or whatever year this is.
Yep, that would be year 3. And of course, moving along here, a name that will be a free agent, but it was in the comments, so I feel we should bring him up. I added him to the list from earlier. I'm getting better with the topics bar, Brian. Derek Watt. And I do believe somebody asked, would Connor Hayward just kind of take his spot? And I know he's an outright free agent, but he had the highest cap hit, which there was a lot of rigmarole. Love that word, by the way. That's from my 6th grade teacher. We used to make fun of her all the time. Rigmarole. About Derek Watt and having that cap hit, but it was only like $4 million.
Yeah.
And I know, that's a lot for a fullback. Yeah, it's special teams play. And I think the Steelers, they have a history of keeping a fullback and an H-back, and Connor Hayward's more of the latter than the former. Could they just drop him in there? They could. But in the past, they've had Will Johnson and David Johnson. They've had Roosevelt Nix and David Johnson. And I'm trying to think, there's somebody else that they actually just kind of had in the same sense too recently with Derek Watt, and I can't remember who it was because there was a lot of talk. Oh, they're going to cut Derek Watt. They could save all this money with not having Derek Watt. And it's like, come on, guys, that's just stupid. He doesn't cost a whole lot. I'm going to bring up his prior deal here and just kind of mention it because it was just that time last year. Around this time, there was just too much stupidity. It seems to be the theme of the day, right? So let's see. Of course, it's not going to show any.
When is it not? When is it not the theme of the day?
9 point.
I mean, this is the season of stupidity.
It really is. Just nothing but rumor mill and conjecture, right?
Well, I mean, and let's be realistic. This is the season of stupidity, not just for the fan bases of all NFL teams, but it's for the teams themselves. 90% of them are going to be idiots during this time frame. They're going to do something ridiculously dumb. And it is. Free agency is the season of stupidity. Pre-free agency is the season of stupidity. Once you get into the draft, sometimes it's still the season of stupidity. But,
Yeah, I totally hear you. Here's the numbers on Derek Watt. And when we talk about restructuring contracts and you're going to find this money somewhere in the couch, they have to eventually pay that. And that's why he had a $4.7 million cap number last year. His cash paid with the Steelers in year 1 was 4.2. And then it was 2.7 and 2.7 each of the last 2 years. That's not a whole lot of money for a veteran player. That's almost like, It's not even, I don't even know that it's 3 times what might be the veteran minimum there. So I think that one is that ship should sail. And we got one more big name that we need to bring up. And it seems like we're talking an awful lot about him recently, probably more than I would even care to like to talk about. And I've talked about my dislike or disdain for Mitchell Trubisky in the past. But there's something to be said about backup quarterbacks in the NFL. And when you're talking about a backup versus a starting role with Trubisky, then my attitude changes a lot differently. And there has been a lot of smoke and fire around Omar Khan and some comments about not only wanting Mitch back for this upcoming season, which he is under contract still to the Steelers through 2023, but beyond the 2023 season as well. And I have completely changed my tune with this, just thinking it from a backup. Do I trust Mitch? We've had these conversations already, Brian. No, I don't. But seeing as who else is out there.
Do I trust any backup?
No, not at all. Not Mason, not anybody else. And
nobody.
Mason won't be here if Mitch is.
Yep.
Could Mason be here if Mitch is released? Well, Mitch has a pretty healthy contract because he got the bag based on being a potential starter if he were to have a good season last season and carry that into this year. Unfortunately, that's not the case or not the scenario of what happened.
Let me throw this at you. At what point in a quarterback's career do they just become Case Keenum? Or one of these other guys, they just go, I don't ever need to play again. I just need to make lots of freaking bank.
Chase Daniel, Colt McCoy.
Well, I'm just going to travel from team to team as long as they'll have me. I'll make $2 to $4 million a year. I'll wear some headphones. I'll hold a clipboard. I'll let people hit me in practice, maybe a little, and that's it. I'm done. I don't have to do anything else. No one will boo me. No one will yell at me.
They don't even run scout team, though. That's usually QB3 or a guy that's on the practice squad.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll take a couple snaps during practice. Maybe I'll sweat. I made $3 million last year. Oh, what a life I lead.
No, you're absolutely right. The problem is with Trubisky isn't that he could be a capable spot starter. That's probably where you want him, like a half of football. You get good and bad. You get what happened with the Ravens. You get what happened with the Bucks. They limited what he was doing against the Panthers. You saw what he did. He got yanked against the Jets. Stinketh. You know what I mean? Wasn't the fault necessarily for the Patriots' loss. Was able, a tale of three halves, really. 7 passes apiece when you talk about the first half in the opening game against the Bengals, the second half in the opening game against the Bengals, and the overtime period. 7 passes in each of them, and you had good, bad, and lucky. And yeah, I'll take lucky. And so when I look at this and I look at a veteran guy who's been around and could help mentor and has already been in that kind of mentor. He was a team captain with Kenny Pickett last year. They're not going to back up Kenny with just any old schlub. Could it be Teddy Bridgewater? Could it be Jacoby Brissett? Absolutely. It could be any of these names. Case Keenum, the guys that are just floating around. Maybe Joe Flacco's available again. Don't want Joe Flacco around. No. There's several teams that have had their problems. The 49ers went how deep? We have an NFL, a pitched rule now to have an additional 47th active player on game days, a third emergency quarterback that you go to in case the backup is injured. So in the case of somebody like Mason Rudolph, never got a helmet last year, like Kendrick Green. The only exception is that your teams aren't usually activating 3 quarterbacks on any given day. That is very, very rare. And that gets you into the scenario of where the 49ers had Christian McCaffrey out there throwing passes in a playoff game. And now they're talking about whether, I think this is a good rule. I don't think it handicaps anyone. And if you go down to quarterback 3, who's to say they're going to play like Brock Purdy anyway? Even Skylar Thompson had his ups and downs. You see him. But you saw, how many backups did you see last year? You saw Cooper Rush. Did the Cowboys end up going 3 deep too? They might have.
Yeah.
Saints.
Yeah. I mean, you saw a lot of backups.
Did.
You always do see a good number of backups over the course of a season. But look, they are what they're backups for a reason. And I have no problem with Mitch as a backup. I have no problem with Mason as a backup. And I do think for a guy like Mitch, okay, yeah, I get it. You got an ego because you were the number 2 pick overall, and you felt like you were going to be the man in Chicago, and you did not live up to that. You probably were drafted higher than your pedigree deserved, because, as I said, season of stupidity. People take flyers on quarterbacks, and they do dumb things for quarterbacks more than any other position, probably. And look, at some point, your brain has to settle back into reality, and you go, for a long time, I can make really good money, better than anybody could ever dream, and I don't really have to do a whole hell of a lot.
No, that's very true. I like the fact that you said something about, does he have an ego or does he have an air about him? I think he ate his humble pie pretty well. It's interesting, really. I don't know if you're catching much of NFL Network lately or even the NFL radio. Ryan Leaf has been on. He has come out from under a rock and surfaced, and he really, talk about a sad story with the way his career ended up, but it's like, wow, listen to this guy and his experience, because this is like the opposite of usually the guys you get on these programs, whether it's radio or television or otherwise, podcasts, etc. They're usually the guys who had like the success, or at least the Cinderella story, like a Brian Hoyer or even Duck Hodges for that matter. Not Ryan Leaf, where it was like, man, this really wasn't good at any point. And to be able to come out and be on in a public setting and speak on, especially they're talking about like the combine and draft and things like that right now, and it's really cool. That's where I see Trubisky. Trubisky is like right there as another one of these guys, second overall, like Leaf, with I don't know that Trubisky had as high of expectations. Like really, Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf, like to me, like Ryan Leaf was supposed to be right there neck and neck with Peyton Manning, and that made it even worse. I think Trubisky was kind of like, this is the best guy that's available maybe in this class.
Dude,
and
when they picked Mitch Trubisky, almost everybody went, what?
Yes, a little too high. First round, was he going to be a first round pick regardless?
Of course, he was a quarterback.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was Kenny Pickett going to be a first round pick? I have to bring this up as well, because people bring this up in the comments, and we got to get back to Trubisky eventually here, but people bring this up all of the time because they think that we've already anointed him the second coming. And it's like, no, we haven't. We have a very real expectation that he could still be not good, but he showed enough improvement. Yeah. And did the Steelers reach? People think the Steelers reach. I don't think that's the case. I think he goes in the first round regardless, or irregardless, as my mom would say, which isn't a word.
Yeah, I mean, he might have gone a couple picks after we picked, but yeah, I think he goes in the first round.
Yeah, I believe he's in that first round category as well. And some team is going to maybe move up, or someone's going to take a flyer on him. And I actually didn't think that the Steelers were going to be in contention for him whatsoever. I didn't think he was going to be available when they were on the clock. What was that, like pick 20? I thought that maybe the Panthers had a quarterback need, the Texans had, and some of these teams had multiple picks. But there was a probability. The reason he slid to where he was is because some of these teams had already settled on who their quarterback was for that year. The Eagles had more than one pick ahead of the Steelers, and they were more than content to stick with Jalen Hurts. They weren't moving anywhere. And I thought, okay, maybe the Falcons could do something. But the Colts made a move for Matt Ryan, and several others were already the Jets. Another team with multiple picks. They had Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's their future. They had hitched their saddles to him. They're not going to go and just grab Kenny Pickett for the sake of Kenny Pickett, especially in what was considered a weak quarterback class. So would Pickett have headlined this year's class? Probably not. You know what I mean?
He would not have. No.
He might have been the third, fourth guy off the board.
With the way things are going, you'd have had Bryce for sure. You'd have CJ. I think people would probably value Levi's Stone Jeans, whatever the guy's name is, more. And with the word of mouth the kid from Florida is getting, Kenny's probably fifth this year.
Maybe so. But does that mean he's a bad quarterback?
No, it doesn't at all. Absolutely doesn't mean that.
Lamar was the fifth guy taken.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's won an MVP. We'll give him at least, his credit where credit's due. Other teams thought, 4 other teams that took a quarterback and needed a quarterback thought differently than to draft Lamar Jackson that year. So that's just, let's put that into perspective as well. So going back to Trubisky, of course, the big thing with having Mitch there, a second overall pick, somebody whose career may not have panned out the way that maybe he had envisioned it or planned it, but might accept that, okay, unless he's looking to start or compete once again as a starter somewhere else and thought he got a raw deal, thinks Matt Canada and the whole system sucks, Matt Nagy before that, and just didn't get his fair due, and he's going to go maybe make more money somewhere else, then it's adios, see you later, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. But if he accepts this type of role, sounds like the Steelers value him like the Bills did before. We would have loved to have this guy longer term. We only got him this 1 year on a cheap deal or whatever. But one thing has to happen, Brian, and I'm looking at it square dead in the face. He has a cap savings of $8 million out of that $10.6 million that he is due this season. That's his cap number for 2023, Mitch Trubisky. That is way too high for a backup quarterback. The Steelers will only owe him $2.6 million, which we've already established, pretty much a drop in the bucket. They could save $8 million if they say goodbye. They could probably get Mason back, maybe, unless he feels he's been given a real raw deal and he's out of town, but they could get somebody else. Jacoby Brissett, Case Keenum for $4 million, $3 million, $3.5, $4.5, somewhere on that sliding scale, $3.5 to $4.5. Not like I'm bouncing around all off the walls here. I'm not. It's just that $10.6 million is too much to pay a guy who is not going to be on the football field whatsoever. That's my main problem with Mitch Trubisky. I called it a mile away last year. A lot of people wanted to call me a moron. People still want to call me stupid for bringing up his stats, the 29 games prior to the Steelers, that we could include some from last year too, but 29 out of 46 starts with 20 or more passes, but a touchdown pass or fewer, and only 10 games where he's had 3 or more TD passes. One of those was a big blowout where I think he only threw like 19 passes but had 6 touchdowns as part of that. Didn't have to throw very far. Guys were wide open. Tampa Bay was not the Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, and they're not going to be again at the end of this year. You got a lot of teams that need quarterbacks now. So I think the Steelers were pretty smart in that aspect. But seeing as how many of these teams, because of concussion protocols and things of that nature now, you can't force quarterbacks right back out onto the field. And, if this was maybe 5, even 10 years ago, maybe Pickett doesn't miss as much time as he even did last year. And then this is becoming a moot point, and you don't need anybody to really of substance to back him up. But this isn't like, you got people talking about drafting a quarterback. And I don't think the Steelers are going to put somebody with 0 experience behind a guy that has not even a full year of starting experience.
No.
So you got to have a veteran guy. Why not just redo Trubisky's contract and keep him there? He already knows the system. You don't have to start over with a backup. And then you've got somebody that could still show and help aid the younger Kenny Pickett through the course of the upcoming season and or seasons. I don't mind that train of thought whatsoever.
I can see them being willing to say, look, if you think you can find somebody who wants you to be a starter, we'll talk to them, and we can arrange a deal,
a trade.
But
yes.
Yeah, a trade. But if you're not able to do that, then let's talk about you moving into in the next segment of your career, which is as a backup, and we'd like to have you be a backup here. I have no problem with that. That being said, I won't be surprised if the Steelers draft a quarterback in the late rounds, because they still need quarterback bodies. But they're not going to. You're absolutely right. We're not drafting it. Yeah, not to be a backup. You're not drafting a quarterback in 2, 3, 4. To be the backup. Period. You're just not. There's a kid from Stanford who I could see dropping late. And, if he ends up in the 3rd round, the same way Mason ended up in the 3rd round, and you think that's a guy you can develop long-term as a backup quarterback, then maybe you take a flyer on that guy. But there's nobody in that they're gonna pick up early to try and make them a backup quarterback now.
No, I don't think so. And that's a good point too, is when Mason was the 6th quarterback taken in that class. That would probably be the same scenario you're looking at
Yep.
this upcoming season, is that you're getting maybe the 6th best quarterback overall. And if you didn't like the way Mason played, or you didn't like the way Landry Jones played, well, that's what you're advocating if you're telling us that you would like the Steelers to draft somebody to develop to be the backup quarterback, because then it's going to be an oh shit moment when that guy has to get on the field, particularly if it happens as a rookie. You don't have a veteran franchise quarterback in place like Ben Roethlisberger that, believe it or not, Ben didn't miss a whole lot of time. He had spurts where they've needed to use their various backup quarterbacks over the years, but yeah, I don't see it the same way. As far as that, it would have to be a QB3, somebody that's in a very distant type situation. And we saw that Brock Purdy still got on the field, despite there being 2 other dudes there when San Francisco. Trey Lance got hurt in camp. Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt during the season. Jimmy Garoppolo was out of town. They couldn't find a trade partner. They couldn't find anybody that wanted to eat some of that contract. In Miami, you had Tua and you had Teddy Bridgewater, and both of those guys got their brain scrambled or whatever be the case. And then Skylar Thompson ends up on the field. Those are some scary and sketchy situations. When Ben was young, the Steelers had Charlie Batch and they had Byron Leftwich.
Jets is another team I think went deep. They went all the way down.
Yeah, Wilson got hurt because of their stupidity in the preseason, and everybody criticized them, but the guy needed to play. And then Flacco came in, and then Wilson came back, and then Wilson stunketh, and then they put Mike White in because they thought Flacco wasn't good, and they kept throwing him all the way around. The Rams went pretty deep, too. I'm trying to think.
Well, yeah, the Rams had to go really deep because they ended up with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, they had to trade.
So did the Panthers, for that matter, right? The Panthers went 3 deep.
Yeah. They had Mayfield. They had Darnold, and then they also had P.J. Walker, and who's the other guy we didn't like in the draft process? Corral. But he got hurt Matt too.
Corral, yeah.
He got hurt too because Sam Howell went to the Commanders.
Was there somebody else behind Mariota before Ritter?
No, not in this because they got rid of Ryan by that point.
Right. Okay.
Right. So the Rams, the Cardinals as well. Kyler Murray, Colt McCoy. And I got to see who the other dude was. And shame on me. I just wrote all this and I still can't keep it. Trace McSorley and David Blow. They had all of those dudes play and suit up over the course of the season. They went through 4 quarterbacks. That's bonkers. And you can't plan. There's no amount of anything you could do to prepare yourself to go through that many quarterbacks. I don't care. Some people say Chris Oladokun, they could bring him back. Who knows what's going on there with the Chiefs and the practice squad or whatever, and he gets a ring and tongue in cheek. He didn't throw a pass like in a preseason. I don't even know he threw very many passes at camp. He didn't while I was there. And the Rams, let me see. You mentioned Mayfield and Stafford. John Wofford and Bryce Perkins were the other guys. So they went 4 deep as well. And it's all because of the way injuries and everybody's being handled with the kid gloves because nobody wants a lawsuit. That's the way that it goes. So Trubisky coming back seems like a pretty wise thing because there will be suitors, even if it's just to make him another backup. And I don't want Mariota. I would trust Mariota or some of these other guys lesser. I might say bad things about Trubisky, but I said this last year. He's the lesser of all of the evils that are available. I'll say it again the same way this year, at least as a backup.
I would not have any less or greater trust in Marcus Mariota than I have in Mitch Trubisky. So if that's how it panned out, if for whatever reason Mitch got nibbles and Mitch was going to be able to get a chance to compete and felt that that's what he needed to follow, and so he wasn't willing to be a backup, and Marcus Mariota was, I could live with it.
Yeah, I'm just saying Mariota is further down in the doghouse with me. So is somebody like, not saying Jameis Winston, who also has a pretty dumb contract.
Oh, forget that one. No, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm out on that draft class with Mariota and Winston. They're in. And you had some stinkers for a few years. Everybody tried to put the quarterback up on this larger pedestal than what they should be. Brian, we're up against it, my friend. So let's get our thoughts collected here straight because we've jumped around a little bit on Trubisky. If you can get something for him in a trade, do so. If you could rip up his contract and not have a cap hit of $10 million for 1 year for him to be a backup, do that as well. And keep him around. Otherwise, yeah, if you're going to overpay him or you can't get anything out of that, then c'est la vie. That's the way I feel.
I'm 100% on board. And I even agree with the order in which you said it. If you can trade and get capital for him, do it, because there will be quarterbacks on the open market that you can bring in that are going to be willing to be backups. If he is willing to be a backup because you don't feel like you can get anything worth the value, but in order to do so, you have to restructure his contract, maybe create an extension, tear the thing up and rewrite it, whatever you have to do, and he's content with that, fine. I'm fine with that. And if none of that works, thank you for your service. Move on.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm going to end this one more time just because I got pinged with another message of Bud Dupree bringing up his contract because we didn't. Look, the Titans got to get rid of him first. He's not available. It's the same thing
Correct.
as like Tremaine Edmonds. I don't see him re-signing with the Bills because they got a lot of liabilities with their cap, but he might not leave the building. These guys might not leave the building. And when they do, like a Dante Hightower, they leave the building, they get a little bit of a sniff, they say this is by market value, and then they go back to their team, in his case, the New England Patriots, and they re-sign with them. It's just the Steelers have done the same thing with other players too. But Bud Dupree, right now, 2023, they save him $9.3 million, but it costs them $10.8, $6.4, and $3.2. So you're looking at north of $20 million. That's like 11, 6.5, and almost 3.5 if I'm just ballparking it. So about $21 million. They do save 9.3, 12.8, and 15.5. It's a lot more likely that they would cut bait with him next year than this year. Some team, they're going to sniff around. I don't think any team's going to want to take on that contract for $20 million a year either.
No.
So they're not going to find a trade suitor. They'd have to cut him outright. They would have to bite the bullet. This is a team, the Tennessee Titans right now. They have over $12 million in cap space with 51 players currently contracted. So they're not necessarily hurting for money based on the 3 moves or whatever they just made last week with Taylor Lewan and company. So just let's pump the brakes on that. It's a 30-year-old player also we're talking about as part of this trade. And you got Alex Highsmith. There's a trade, release, whatever. But Bud's going to go somewhere and probably want to be a starter just like Melvin Ingram did. And Melvin Ingram was 2 years older than him already with far more accolades as far as a Pro Bowler and far more versatile, I will say as well, because he played as a 4-3 defensive end and a 3-4 outside linebacker. So he played both edge varieties, hand in the dirt and standing up. So I don't see it happening.
I rate the chances of it occurring at under 2%. But, again, as I said at the top of the show, if Bud wants to come back and understands that his role is a rotational player and depth, I'm all for it. If he wants anything other than that, then no, I don't need you for that.
Yep. And I was looking too. I just saw Michigan corner DJ Turner clocked at 4.27. 40. Wow.
All right,
Guys
good. That'll skyrocket him up the draft charts. Get him ahead of some other people that I don't want. As the person I don't want, as I don't want him. And we'll go from there.
I agree. There's a lot of names that's coming. People are still wondering, where's all the draft talk? You guys don't talk about all of these guys. That's exactly why.
I did another mock draft insanity. I didn't send it to you because I'm still deciding how we're going to go about this. But I did another one, and basically I had options to pick at every spot in the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But remember the rules were I couldn't pick in the top 10. I could get all those picks, and I had to trade back until I was out of the top 10, and then I could start picking. Dude, I got Paris Johnson. I got that guy from Northwestern. I got everybody. It was amazing. It was the greatest draft ever.
The 1974 draft all over again.
It was way better because I had like nine first-round picks by the time I was done.
I'm sure that wouldn't wreck anyone's salary cap either.
That would be a forget rookie deals.
Would be good for now, but
you'd be screwed because 9 first-round picks.
Well, and did you say they were all top 10 too? Because that matters.
No, none of them were top 10.
Okay, but it still matters. They're probably still what, like $3 to $5 million a year or something, first rounder. So yeah, if you had 10 of them, that's $50 million.
I can't sign any of my second-round picks, of which I had 15, because I don't have any money left.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, folks, that'll do it for us. We will have many mock draft insanities coming up. I know what we're going to do with that. We may even go live, Brian. Ooh, it'll be chaotic. It'll be a 2-hour long show without any editing, with how crazy the mock draft. Brian sets it up pretty good, though. I think we'll get through it. But anyways, that'll do it for us. Some longer shows this week, but hey, we had some meat of content to get to, as the real league year for 2023 is just right around the corner. So that'll do it for us. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. As we always close out this show, we say, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Brian thinks there's a 2% chance for Bud Dupree. That's what we say to our 2%ers who caught that little note. Not a coincidence there. And until next time, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.